Much love to my peoples. How y'all doing today? Y'all all right? May this transmission, find you, my beautiful people. You know what I'm saying? In the best of health, mentality, or just trying to gain peace of mind from the chaos through listening to somebody who understand what you're going through. You know what I'm saying? In this world of many um, levels, you know what I'm saying, of regarding our environment that's full of all kind of stuff that you just got to separate yourself from. You know what I'm saying? Be in good standing with your own peaceful lifestyle as best you can. You know what I'm saying? So positive energy activate positive elevation. You know what I'm saying, to my peoples. You know what I'm saying? And right now, this communication is a meeting of the minds. You know what I'm saying? So in light, you know what I'm saying, of me connecting with you on a positive note, you know what I'm saying, be strong, you know what I'm saying, out here no matter what may try to disturb your peace of mind, no matter what, you know what I'm saying, like certain philosophy I got, come what may, for the contentment of my mind is not going to be disturbed by the foolish shenanigans, you know what I'm saying, certain games that people play, you know what I'm saying, where they feel they get off of trying to cause some kind of misery in you, you know what I'm saying, or trying to cause some kind of misery in me because they miserable as fuck, you know what I'm saying? Because they miserable to the point where, you know what I'm saying, they can't eradicate from within their spirit the unclean spirit that's wreaking havoc in their body, you know what I'm saying? Or in their mind, you know what I'm saying, that's ramshacked by all kind of what you call it, racket and voices or negative influences that inhabit them, you know what I'm saying, that cause them to act out of character where it make them look suspect, you know what I'm saying, in the eyes of a God, you know what I'm saying, like say for instance, like us conscious black people or Nubian star seeds or chosen ones or what have you, people who thinking highly of themselves out here as a result of finding themselves, you know what I'm saying? And they walk in that light unapologetically, you know what I'm saying? To the point where they light that they let shine, you know what I'm saying? Irritate the demons in others. Now, mind you, right? You know what I'm saying? We we deal every day. We come face to face over us as Nubian people. We confront certain narratives or certain perceptions, or we confront certain we confront certain misnomers about ourselves on a regular basis, day to day basis, where us as black men we have to stand firm against a lot of misunderstandings that people have about us in society in general, nationally and internationally, because it's a global, how should I put it? It has been a global smear campaign to tarnish our images as upstanding men of power, to where people will look at us in the light of respect. You know what I'm saying? Without the bickering, the conflicts, the constant fights we find ourselves in, dealing with the political arenas, the economic arenas, the business arenas, or even in our own personal lives, dealing with our families. You know what I'm saying? To where all we want to do as responsible thinkers to make sure everybody is doing okay. You know what I'm saying? But yet we have been rubbed the wrong way by these certain negative stimuli in our environment to make us feel psychologically inadequate to where we gotta have something to prove. You know what I'm saying? To set the record straight, to let these troublemakers know, you know what I'm saying, that um, we are not who they think that we are. Say, for instance, like a lot of us good brothers or sisters who out here trying to be successful or who are successful, right? Conduct ourselves in a humble fashion to where we, all got gifts and talents, right? To where we carry ourselves in a humble fashion, right? Look, but yet, even though we carry ourselves in a humble fashion, you got individuals who envy us. You know what I'm saying? They envy us. They full of envy. They jealous of us. You know what I'm saying? And we don't intend to evoke these kind of emotions in people to where they put in motion, right? A certain behavior where they act out, right? Where they act out questionable behavior that make you look at them in a light like, wow, you know what I'm saying? You've been feeling disagreeable about me the whole time, you know what I'm saying? A G been knowing you, you know what I'm saying? Hold on, no. So we kicking it. We been cool all this time, right? For years. You know what I'm saying? To where I know my character as a real G, a real brother, a real person, you know what I'm saying, has been 100 all the way. But then signs start surfacing to where you see certain things, you know what I'm saying, but you ain't looking at it in the light, you know what I'm saying, like this ain't my man's or this ain't my girl, you know what I'm saying? You looking at things in the light where it's like, ain't nothing to it, you my people, no worries, it's all good. I get with you later, you know what I'm saying, and we'll do some business later on, you know what I'm saying, when we can get some time, you know what I'm saying, and things will be copacetic, you know what I'm saying, when we, like reschedule to take care of some business, you know what I'm saying, even though we were supposed to take care of some business right here at this right now meeting point, but due to some kind of change of plans on because of your situation, we're rescheduling, hook up another time and all will be well. Next thing you know what I'm saying, uh, that situation start repeating itself. Not me. I'm never, if say for instance, if I got a business meeting with you, right? You know what I'm saying. 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna show up because I'm real about what I'm doing, and I expect for you to be real about your, end of the verbal agreement. Like in business, right? The purpose of contracts of doing business is is the contract is what regulate the transaction that's taking place. Where the agreeing parties, right, is regulating their behavior based on the agreements of that contract. So the contract can be written or verbal. You know what I'm saying? Yet, like a lot of us are not dealings in the streets. You know what I'm saying? In the free sectors of society. You know what I'm saying? Where we hook up with people. You know what I'm saying? And we do what we do. You know what I'm saying? In terms of like writing books, making music, you know what I'm saying, artwork or what have you. You know what I'm saying? We said we gonna do something, we gonna do it. Now to the point where 9 times out of 10, when I say I'm gonna do something, the other person know I'm gonna deliver. But the other person start to show patterns where they not delivering. You know what I'm saying? You know, they coming up with excuses for this, that, and the third. But they your people and you like, oh, we cool, we'll just hook up when you get time, fam. Much love. Now this goes on to where the characteristics, you know what I'm saying, in the person who say that they gonna do something, they always deliver. The other person know, oh, he say he gonna do something, he gonna be there. As far as me, right? But I'm the one, you know what I'm saying, humbling myself to your irregularities. But you still my mans, you still my peoples. To the point where, by you being my mans, you being my peoples, and me being humble, you know what I'm saying, to the point where don't think you can play with me, you know what I'm saying, because of me being humble. But yet, for whatever reason, it appears over time where people try to take your kindness for a weakness or something. And then try to play with your intelligence. Like, do they really consciously think like certain people you associate with, right? Like, you know what? I think I can, you know, play him a certain way because I think he's stupid in this area, or I think she's stupid in this area, where I'm going to actually perpetrate a certain action, you know what I'm saying, to see about to dupe this person. Not knowing, you know what I'm saying, due to their lack of spiritual awareness, you know what I'm saying, that people like us is equipped with open third eyes to where we see everything. And what we may not see, you know what I'm saying, at the same time, we will feel through what we can't see also. You know what I'm saying? Our eyes see what we feel, right? So as far as like reading the ethers, which is a form of communication, the ethers communicate through us through vibrations in the form of intelligent information, conveying messages to us that we perceive as spiritual beings, knowing how the ethers work. You know what I'm saying? Knowing how certain vibrations work, knowing how certain tones work, knowing how certain frequencies work, dealing with the ethers that we can control, you know what I'm saying, which is a form of how we have powers, you know what I'm saying, to make reality certain things through our thought forms that we give birth to. You know what I'm saying? Through our intentions. But yet, other people who not knowing that science, they find themselves doing stuff where the influence that they have on the ethers, right, is negative to such a degree to where you really can see how people out here be houses where demons live at. You know what I'm saying? And these demons that live in them houses, you know what I'm saying, is ramshacking that vessel to the point where you see the vessels deteriorating because of certain aura on these people. You know what I'm saying? It's a dark aura, but they think they fooling you, but telling you verbally, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, yeah, I'm with you. You know what I'm saying? Well, what you about this, that, and the third regarding the light, right? But they aura is opposite of yours. Thinking you can't see the ethers like that. You know what I'm saying? The energy field of people. You know what I'm saying? But for the sake of people being out here, being of their father, the devil, whether lust of their father, they shall do, regarding being connected to the seeds of deception. You know what I'm saying? Say for instance, it's a lot of stuff, right, that I want to talk about. And just so much stuff to remember. Some downloads I get, you know what I'm saying, in a way where certain information through the Holy Spirit, you know what I'm saying, um, allows me to speak clearly about certain things to where people don't have an understanding, you know what I'm saying, of certain realities to where, like the master teacher, partner Bab Yanun, right, to where I would like to make the unclear things made clear through speaking in a fashion that is understandable and also uplifting as a result of a certain school of thought that produce learned men and women, you know what I'm saying, for the sake of us being able to navigate ourselves through life smoothly, rooted in peace, without the dysfunction, without the confusion, without the backstabbing, without the fronting. You know what I'm saying? Like you a friend of mine, but in all actuality, you know what I'm saying, you is a user, a manipulator, you know what I'm saying, who end up getting found out, you know what I'm saying, due to your breadcrumbs of deception that I'm putting together all along, you know what I'm saying, without even crossing you or confronting you in a way like, look, I see the shenanigans that you doing, and I'm gonna still be your friend. No, I'm just looking at the picture that they creating from their deceptive or tricky behavior, to where I'm like just coping with this individual. Like, I mean, you know, I mean, I just see the ways of people, you know what I'm saying? So I try to look for the good in people, you know what I'm saying, to the point where that's what I'm looking for. I'm not trying to end up putting you, you know what I'm saying, on my shit list. You know what I'm saying? Like, you you on my good side. You know what I'm saying? Come on, you did, you know what I'm saying? Like, this brother or this sister, all right, that's, they got little ways, but, they cool. You know what I'm saying? But not to the point where you cross me in a certain way to where, like, I remember when rapper DMX, you know what I'm saying, may he rest in power in the realm of the Egon Goon, when he was speaking on certain affiliates that he was around, and he was like talking to a brother in like an interview where he made a response about the characteristics of people, where he was like, it's a difference between a person doing wrong and comparison to a person being wrong. Now, what's the difference to a person doing wrong and being wrong? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how you shoot certain moves, you know what I'm saying? Well, you know it ain't right, but you shoot a certain move, you know what I'm saying? Like, say for instance, like you got people who commit crimes. You know what I'm saying? You know, for whatever reason, like they take a chance and do something. You know what I'm saying? And try to, you know, for financial reasons or whatever, but it's wrong. And they do the act to get the money the wrong way. They doing wrong. You know what I'm saying? But it's another thing when, say for instance, you rolling with somebody and y'all cool, you know what I'm saying, and you end up engaging in a business pursuit, you know what I'm saying, to where your partner get a breakthrough on a good idea, you know what I'm saying, regarding y'all being partners, right? But they got a breakthrough with the partnership, and that, you know what I'm saying, that's connected with you, where they got an opportunity to come up with the idea, but they abandon you out the partnership, you know what I'm saying, for their own personal gain. They was being wrong because they knew what they was doing to leave you out the picture. You know what I'm saying? Where they took advantage of an opportunity because they was an opportunist, and you thought, you know what I'm saying, this was your partner. You know what I'm saying? But end up being morally wrong in that situation. You know what I'm saying? Where they was being wrong. They knew consciously, I'm doing this for myself. You know what I'm saying? Forget my man. Even though this supposed to be yo ace boom coon, yo people. You know what I'm saying? But yet, even though they did that, still, like, the analogy that I'm saying, this is an experience that happened to me, to where, okay, well, I'm strong enough to stand on my own 2 feet anyway, to thrive and be successful, because I am a creator. I'm creative. I'm going to be all right. I'm going to be all right. You know what I'm saying? And it's all good. You know what I'm saying? But guess what? You know what I'm saying? Much success to my people. Anyway, I'm not a hater like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't play foolish games with my people. I don't do people like that. You in my life, you know what I'm saying, for a positive reason. You know what I'm saying? And when I say that I'm going to do something, I'm going to mean well by you. I'm not going to play games with your time. I'm not going to play games with your life. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to sell you no dream. I ain't going to sell you no fairy tales. We're going to be on the straight and narrow about what we doing, because what I want for myself, I want for my brother or sister. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got that crooked, funny style tendencies in me. I'm not like that. And I love that about myself. You know what I'm saying? I'm 100. You know what I'm saying? In terms of how I keep it real with my peoples. You know what I'm saying? And that's that. You know what I'm saying? I'm one way. I'm not no 100 type of ways with the people I'm dealing with. You know what I'm saying? I got a reputation for being one way. I'm good peoples, period. But guess what? Now here it is. I'm one way, or you one way. And you got these good characteristics. You know what I'm saying? To where the other person, you know what I'm saying, is a shapeshifter. A shapeshifter. You know what I'm saying? Well, behind closed doors, if they reacting like this toward you as a shapeshifter, that is disappointing. That make it so disappointing, right? I mean, ain't no telling what people doing behind your back, closed doors. But that's a revelation that really behind your back, people don't be really 100 with you. You know what I'm saying? They just got some kind of angle, you know what I'm saying, that they trying to manipulate, you know what I'm saying, to the best of their advantage. But trying to do it um, in a slick way to where you don't pick up on it. You know what I'm saying? But you do pick up on it. You know what I'm saying? But that's where the line in the sand, or that's where the game stop. You know what I'm saying? Because things happen for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Some people meet people, they meant to be in your life for a season, or some people meant to be in your life for a lifetime. You know what I'm saying? I'm the type of characteristic brother where it's a lifetime with me. You know what I'm saying? Until you show me different. It's not gonna be me, you know what I'm saying, who throw some salt in the situation. You know what I'm saying? 9 times out of 10, it's gonna be another individual that make my attitude justifiable for me to me be my way and to you yours. It's all to it. You know what I'm saying? So with that said, you know what I'm saying? We dealing with a certain black dilemma where we have to deal with the falsification of our people's consciousness as a result of certain um, mind manipulation that have taken place on such a deep level to where this certain thought process has inculcated in the minds of our people to such a level to where our people resist, you know what I'm saying, the higher calling of being metamorphosized out of that wrong psychological conditioning, you know what I'm saying, as a product of basically the devil's civilization. But they don't want to talk about that. You know what I'm saying? They like avoiding these particular kind of topics regarding being liberated in the mind, free from the devil's web that got people caught up. You know what I'm saying? So applaud yourself for wanting to go to the next level in life and not be caught up spiritually into the entanglements of the constant dysfunction in our environment, whether whether it's dealing with family members, whether it's dealing with people in the society, community, world at large, what have you, socially dealing with people. You know what I'm saying? We hope people work on themselves to the point where they uproot the negativity out of themselves, where we can be in harmony with one another socially, where we can do things and make progress doing business regarding our gifts and talents without having to worry about some kind of stuff not working out because of the lack of cooperation or um, or the lack of positive input from others. You know what I'm saying? But it's a saying, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. But can't nothing be done right unless the mind is right. That's why, look, that's why right knowledge is of primary importance. You know what I'm saying? Wobble forever. I want to go in here in the sacred wisdom of Tahuti for a moment and talk about Brother Kansu, one of the supreme beings of our Egyptian, Kemetic, Tamarian ancestors, right? Regarding obliterating evil out of our life. Now, for instance, right? Who is the Neter Kansu? Kansu, son of Amun and Mut, was the third member of the triad of Nut Amun, right? The best. The Greeks called Kansu Hercules, son of Zeus and out meaning slayer of the giants, destroyer of evil monsters, the righter of wrong. Kansu is most often seen as a young man wrapped as a mummy with the one braid of hair on the right side of his bald head. This is why the Nuwapians wear the one braid. Kansu's symbol was the upright crescent moon over his head, carrying in his hand, which sticks out from his bindings, the wasp, crook staff, and the ku flail, a patah, a symbol of overcoming death and resurrection, and rulership, from which the 23rd Psalm got it. Its attributed to David, but was in fact from Akhenaten. Psalms 23, 1 through 6, dealing with a Psalm of David, saying this, right? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He make me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest me a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Though thou anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Most High forever. As the moon comes and goes, so also in the meaning of his name, as the noon, Neter Supreme Being. The moon comes again each new month, so also your health can be renewed with a 30-day fast or cleansing. The Muslims got their Ramadan, which means hot month, talking about the effects of the sun's heat. So it's sun worship and moon worship. They got Ramadan from Kansu and is waiting for the new moon to break their fasting, all from the Egyptians. The points are broken up into 3 sets of 10 to purify the body, as the woman's body cleanses itself each month with her menstruation, which works with the movement of the moon. Kansu was the aid of Tahuti, thought as his helper and recorder of the health and state of being as to who live or dies. He is the one who writes the names on the leaves of the secret tree of life and death. He also helps Tahuti in recording all passing time. The keeper of change, a seraphim meaning those of fire, the master healer of the sick, and protector against all evils, protector against ghosts, 6 ether spirit forces of evil, the one who chases away all forms of evil. Now think about how the process of us doing our part to live righteous, right? And to get rid of all forms of evil out of our life. Now, notice the characteristics of people out here who haven't eradicated all forms of evil out of their life. Is they mind, do they mind really furnish that angle of understanding regarding evil to eradicate evil in all its forms out of their life? Because somebody want evil to be perpetuated out here as a alternative to maintain a certain status quo, to maintain a certain status quo, right? Where people is caught up out here. You know what I'm saying? Because certain people haven't turned from their wicked ways. You know what I'm saying? So we have an opportunity to clean it up. So for a lot of us who have allowed ourselves the time to clean up our house, the temple of God right here, to clean this up inside as a result of our thinking correctly first with the spiritual weapons that will make a difference, regarding us having a healing impact on our environment and souls we come in contact with. That's the bigger picture of this war of good and evil. So we find ourselves dealing with people who got deception in them, but they appear to be cool. You know what I'm saying? Your friend, somebody close to you. You know what I'm saying? And it usually happen where, how did y'all end? Like certain people who was considered your enemy. You know what I'm saying? Because at one time, y'all was friends. But it don't always turn out that way because you got some friends to the end for real. You know what I'm saying? Where they operate as best friends without ending up being enemies. But in a lot of cases, you know what I'm saying, you would think like, I ain't really trying to look at, this individual who was close to me as my straight up enemy. You know what I'm saying? Or do they consider me they enemy as a result of us being cool once upon a time? How did, if we say for instance us being cool, at what point or breakdown in communication or some conspicuous act of disrespect cause us to think differently about one another to where you will be reclassified, or where you will reclassify that person as your enemy? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Somebody who envious of you, jealous of you, you know what I'm saying? I want to see you prosper, succeed, or sabotage the good stuff that you got going on that sustain your livelihood, for that, where they rooting for that to be sabotaged. Or you got people, you know what I'm saying, who do spell work, you know what I'm saying, to where they try to create certain spell work for you to have bad luck or for you to experience a loss in some kind of way, shape, form, or fashion, because that's the evil that they do. That's the evil that they are part of. You know what I'm saying? Which is of a lower vibration, you know what I'm saying, that they really gambling with, that can end up causing them, you know what I'm saying, to either suddenly leave this planet in a whisper from doing wrong, you know what I'm saying, or leave this planet, you know what I'm saying, in a negatively violent way that's loud, or in a negatively violent way, you know what I'm saying, to where they have reaped what they have sown, you know what I'm saying, from practicing what's considered, they call it black magic, but it's actually white magic. It's a word trick. It's a word, a reverse psychology, magic, color game. You know what I'm saying? And that white magic is the magic that is really doing what they call, what black magic uh is practice doing. You know what I'm saying? But it's really white magic. But it's negativity. You know what I'm saying? To contaminate your positive representation of yourself, being successful. You know what I'm saying? This goes on to read, right? Regarding Tahuti and Kansu, the keeper of change, a seraphim meaning those of fire, the master healer of the sick, and protector against all evil spirits. Ghosts, 60th the spirit, forces of evil, the one who chases away evil in all excuse me, the one who chases evil in all forms, the originator of exorcists. Now, these spiritual approaches to eradicate and banish evil forces, right, come from our ancestors' school of learning regarding how to do these things, dealing with the spirits in life and how to handle spirits in the world, from our Kemetic Tamarayan Egyptian ancestors who know the real masteries over these phenomena spiritually, which is what we got to learn and get back to, you know what I'm saying, as a people, free from the negative slave mentality teachings, you know what I'm saying, of certain monotheistic practices that has the consciousness of a lot of our people and people of the world, because actually all world religions get their ideas, which is really esoteric, watered down teachings, from the roots of African spirituality in Kemet, Egypt, or Tamaray. Now, the originator of exorcists, for evil spirits are the source of all illness. Now I'm going to read that again, right? The originator of exorcists, for all spirits are the source of all illnesses. So, by spirits being the source of all illnesses, what is the essence of spirits? Hold on 1 minute. Hold on. Yeah, I'm back. Regarding the idea about what's the difference between spirit and soul is what I want to get into, right? To where it leads to other meanings, you know, regarding what's what, so you can have a proper identification of what's a part of you and how you relate to that spiritual reality of yourself that's connected with the ether world on this physical plane that we basically hit a master and have 360 degrees of wisdom of the physical reality, mastery over it, and 360 degrees of the spiritual realm, the reality of the spiritual realm, equaling 720 degrees of knowledge, wisdom, understanding, inner standing, overstanding, and outer standing, dealing with the extraterrestrial realities that we connected with as supreme beings who are beyond being just mortals, even though you have a certain groups of people who are considered mortals, where there is a reality in relation to us where we are of a race of people who are supreme beings in our right minds in terms of us being gods and goddesses. Now this book continues to read, right? So all physicians, right, have to be wise in the black magic of casting away evil white magic, spirit forces, those lost spirits who can't escape this realm, their unholy ghosts, their God or Lord who can do evil. Exodus 32:14. So they plagued the weak, the sick, the young and old. The sick were taken to his temple by family and friends. Kansu cured all their illnesses because to us, Egyptians, all illnesses are caused by the demons, virus, microbes, germs, bacteria, as jinns, demons, evil spirits, devils getting into the human body by way of its openings. So we have to protect our bodies because our bodies have openings. These are the openings of the body that spirit forces, whether we believe in them or not, or whether we know about them or not, and whether we accept the facts regarding the realities that these particular spirit forces get into people through holes in people's bodies, which are holes that are explained in this reading right here, right? Regarding the openings of our bodies, the openings of your body. You know what I'm saying? May you have awareness of what these openings of your body is, where you can protect yourself, spiritually regarding the viruses, the microbes, the germs, the bacteria, the jinns, the demons, the evil spirits, devils getting into the human body by way of its openings. And these openings of the body are the nostrils, mouth, eyes, ears, genitals, or open cuts or sores, and from your waist tract. He also had his power transferred into the Shawapti, head, what were, heads, Waru, the great one, smaller statue. Oh yeah, okay. He also had his power transferred into the great one. The Shawapti had Waru, smaller statue, that he imparted his Hanu power into, so that he could be there to ward off evil attacking anywhere. So certain spiritual ritual powers that we have regarding our culture, regarding certain spirit forces being imbued in certain statues right? And say for instance, like the Orishas, the concept of them particular deities in the pantheon of those gods, or in Egypt, the pantheon, like a logical way for you to understand, like a pantheon of Kemetic gods, that one of them principles of a spiritual force being represented through a particular statue, right? What the energy emanating from that statue will have a positive impact on the environment based on the intention of that sign and symbol that represent healing, you know what I'm saying, and cleanness, that represent powers of getting rid of evil in all its forms. Like for instance, like this beautiful picture of the master teacher right here. We know what he stands for. So that picture represents a moral compass in the spirit world and physical world about the same things that Kansu represent regarding getting rid of evil in all its forms through being the embodiment of truth, factology, and reality. You know what I'm saying? So, with that said, right, this goes on to read, so that he would be there to ward off evil attacking anywhere, right? His image is required to achieve a cure. Also, his symbol was the baboon, who sat at the judgment hall of Osiris, and as a man with the head of the hawk, just as the natural supreme being Sokar of Hetkapata, Memphis, the spirit guard of tombs, one of the triad, Ptah, Sokar, the hawk, and master of split-second timing. Its eyes color of the sun and sunrise, and the Saru. He was also called Kanans, and the navigator. A shrine temple was built for him at Ambos, the Golden Neb, or Nuapu, a land inhabited by Nubians from pre-dynastic times, also dedicated to the Nectar Supreme being Satuk Set. You can find his story of power healing on the Bentresh Stela, which relates to story of Ramesses II and Nun Amen the Best. When you call on him, you use Kansu Neferhotep of Karnak, Waret, the exorciser, and Nectar Supreme Being of Love. He can mend your love life or help you with it. Help to heal a marriage just for the asking, and also helps with birth and fertility, and with the secret schools of Ra, the ancient Egyptian order, the young order of Horus, the Amun and Amunet. He was also known as Kansuri. In all ceremonies, there was food offerings and drink offerings to Amun, his consort Mut, and their son Kansu. So his name is said before all meals, and that the food be healthy and nourishing as well as safe to eat, right? Regarding these particular cultural practices, we have to get back to, because someone want to strip us of our powers, right? So if somebody want to strip you of your powers, that means they want to make you weak. And if they want to make you weak, they want to make you weak for the purpose for them to exploit you. So if you end up being in a position to where you can be exploited, that is vampirism. And that vampirism and that parasitic appetite that these parasites and vampires has is to suck you dry until you have nothing left. You are a host that they feed on. You know what I'm saying? To where they negative intentions, you know what I'm saying, only gets more powerful to them, for them to maintain that dominant negative position over your ignorant mind. So to be free from that, you have to separate yourself from them unclean, parasitic, and vampiristic forces that only want to suck you of your resources and use you till you can't be used no more. And what they go do, once they finish feeding off of you, was nothing else for them to feed off on, they find somebody else to do it too. Because that's how they live. That's how they get down. You know what I'm saying? So here I am as a beacon of light. You know what I'm saying? Like the great sages and prophets and apostles of the scriptures. The truth of the scriptures, right? The messengers, etc. You know what I'm saying? Who represent a force of liberation and salvation and sanity. You know what I'm saying? For our people to wake up to, right? To be in alignment with the cosmos regarding the bigger pictures of what's really going on beyond the bottom feeders of society. You know what I'm saying? In relation to what that diagram, that pyramid, where you have certain forces use the pyramids of our ancestors from their own narrative perspective, to where it exclusively relate to them, basically, as the certain modern day rulers, you know what I'm saying, this particular modern Roman Empire, you know what I'm saying, that's connected to the what the scriptures say, the great whore that sits on many waters, to where the consciousness of the women, you know what I'm saying, is in the mentality of the great whore that work in service of the evil one. You know what I'm saying? Creating an environment to where the carnal customs of men and women is indulged in as a distraction to keep you from turning into a light being, you know what I'm saying, through right knowledge, which is a superior information, you know what I'm saying, that enable us to see through the technology of the evil genes, you know what I'm saying, and the manifestation of the flesh in the physical form. Now, mind you, right? Let's connect some dots. Okay, hold on. When the master teacher, right, came to us, you know what I'm saying, through the opening of the seventh seal, regarding our true spiritual science, New Wobble, in addition with other perspectives, you know, that our ancestors put forth for us to take into consideration. You know what I'm saying? This right here is dealing with what's the difference between the spirit and the soul. You know what I'm saying? Because we have a body, you know what I'm saying, a spirit, and a soul. Through our mind that's connected to the mental reservoir of the Most High that we take part in within this divine existence that is full of meaning. So you can't get caught up in the idea to where you end up being hopeless. It's always an angle of reality you got to stay connected to that's full of meaning and high vibrations. You know what I'm saying? So, say for instance, right? The concept of what this is getting into, right? These words, you know, it's to help change the reality, you know what I'm saying, of the degenerative relationships of black people here in the United States of America and be aware of the bigger pictures of what the Constitution of this country stands for. Is it being properly upheld? What is the peace and friendship treaties is really about that we have with other races that's recognized by the United Nations in addition to it's in terms of what has standing in law as people, copper colored people, uh, the indigenous peoples of this land and planet that has indigenous rights to where we operate as a community of conscious indigenous people that know what we doing. You know what I'm saying? And we address the reality of these particular topics that I'm finna read about right here. That like for instance, brother Dr. Amos Wilson put together certain books for us to take into consideration, like the falsification of African consciousness, developmental psychology of the black child or children, and the blueprint to black power, a moral, political, and economic imperative. That's a must. These are must reads for us to have in our households. In addition to black on black violence, the psychodynamics of white supremacy that has a play in these particular states of consciousness in the minds of our people. That needs to be rehabilitated from. You know what I'm saying? Like for instance, this particular term, right? Alienation of the African American personality. Like the crime that we see in the streets, you know, that we don't want to be there. Why is it there? Why certain communities other than our communities don't experience the degree of these negative statistics like our communities? There got to be solutions and remedies for these problems. You know, so we got to do our part to better our reality and living situation and conditions. Now, addressing these particular kind of facts, alienation of the African American personality, black on black crime with black males acting as erstwhile suicidal, fratricidal Manchurian candidates or mercenaries who unwittingly have been recruited to execute the continuing white American hegemonic assault on the African American community necessarily requires that Their personalities be psychologically conditioned and transformed to play their assigned roles by the Eurocentric establishment. Moreover, it requires that these personalities have made unconsciously responsive to have these personalities be made unconsciously responsive to and malleably compatible with white American imperialistic needs. So, how in the heck is our dysfunction as a people, right? Or our dysfunction meets the needs of white hegemonic Eurocentric ideas. Now, don't that sound like we have to separate ourselves that and replace that particular kind of thought manipulation with reorientating our mind with a African-centered worldview that work in service of our own elevation, our own security protection, our own sanity security that secures us in a way where we thinking properly that's in relationship to proper sanity as a people politically. Like it was this particular other point that he made about the Euro-centered political psychoanalysis of African people. Now, if us as a people functioning in a certain way, where we have people who is considered of other races, you know what I'm saying, where they have certain people in place that psychologically analyze us, or do we have people in place that psychologically analyze them? Which is yes, because from these particular findings, these documentations point to us the history of European peoples, which shows us their intentions and psychology toward us to to such a degree to where we see the status quo with how they operate is a result of their relationship to us that caused them to end up having the power they have. So it was a statement where these people cannot be who they are without us being who we are. Say, for instance, the power relationship. If we not empower ourselves, if we don't empower ourselves with the right tools to work with, to empower ourselves to where we will be looked at as a people of power regarding power in itself, doing things that will empower us, that will make us more powerful by studying the science of power in relation to our group organizations, right? That particular power would transform our relationship from being powerless to being powerful. You know what I'm saying? So, say for instance, like, according to the laws of physics, like it's a direct relationship where our rise, you know what I'm saying, will cause an effect where other people will fall. No, we talking about us rising, empowering ourselves without contributing to interfering with the sustainability of others. Even though there's a bigger picture regarding our humanity as a people in terms of like meaning people well. Even though it appears through the history of, like, say for instance, the history of Europeans don't mean us well. Our natures are different. But yet, contemporarily, there are white people who want to do good, to where, like the master teacher had said, we living in an era of time to where it's a time for all good people to come together, representing the right thing. You know what I'm saying? So in light of representing the right thing, that's what I am about. You know what I'm saying? So with this transmission right here, right? May it contribute to the transformation of the mind to where our conduct will be automatically changed in a way where we find ourselves having the instincts, you know what I'm saying, to be solid in terms of representing the truth, you know what I'm saying, which is to get rid of evil in all its forms, you know what I'm saying, in all areas of people activity. Where was that book at? One moment. I'm finna get this book regarding all areas of people activity. All right, I'm back. This regarding the areas of people activity, right? Dealing with power. Okay. Now, as far as being powerful, you have to want to be powerful. And we born with certain spiritual power, but yet we in a environment to where certain competitive forces want to affect or strip us of our powers, to where don't let nobody strip you of your power. You know what I'm saying? Is you out here doing the work of stripping people of their power? You know what I'm saying? We can't be at the receiving end, you know what I'm saying, playing the defense. We got to go on the offense when it comes to getting rid of the evil. And that's what I do. I'm offensive when I get rid of the evil. I take action, you know what I'm saying, to make sure I'm guarded against the evil. So I have to do something about my environment to make sure it's clean. For instance, right, this particular matter, right, making reference to these areas of people activity being economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Now, dealing with the economic reality of inequality, the education system that has been biased, in the education system to where it's been schooled intelligence or schooled information dealing with leaving a lot of things out of it to where it's been lopsided and one-sided, to where we have been Eurocentrically brainwashed, and African-centrically denied our true roots and histories of our cultural norms of who we are and how we do things and how we did things and do things as a people who are naturally who we are, but yet there has been a invasion of the body snatchers, basically. You know what I'm saying? That has done took place where our people's minds have been inoculated by doctrines of mythology, to where we give life and power to fairy tales. You know what I'm saying? Other than living the actual fact truth of who we are. You know what I'm saying? Where we empower ourselves. Where we can, at the same time, help other groups stay in their right mind, hopefully. You know what I'm saying? So, this right here is dealing with the matter, basic perspectives of regarding racism, right? The matter, sometimes referred to as the race problem, is the basic initial unfinished business amongst the people of the known universe. Therefore, it is not possible to effectively speak and or act to eliminate any major problem that involves people without first eliminating the problem of racism in every area of activity, including economics, getting rid of racism in economics, getting rid of racism in education, getting rid of racism in entertainment, getting rid of racism in the labor markets, labor forces, labor, dealing with labor, getting rid of racism, dealing with the law, getting rid of racism in the area of politics, getting rid of racism in the area of religion, getting rid of racism in the area of sex, getting rid of racism in the area of war. Now, with that said, in all them areas of people activity, right, regarding economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Okay, getting rid of racism in all of those areas of people activity. Now, in doing that, right, we have to get an understanding of how it works. So, by having an understanding with how it works, we have to understand that it's operating in the area of war, sex, religion, politics, law, labor, entertainment, education, and economics. Now, in order to do this, right, it is necessary for victims of racism, non-white people, in effective numbers to know and understand who the races are, how they function, and for what ultimate purpose. Now, with that said, it was this book, matter of fact, a plurality of books that the Nation of Islam put out called The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews, dealing with certain people of power that happen to be Jews, right? Or people who wrote books dealing with these particular people who are Jews. Or, like, say for instance, the Jews have what's called the Anti-Defamation League, to where the Anti-Defamation League is in existence to protect the image of the Jewish people who practice a religion of Judaism, right? Now, they whole nation, it's a whole nation of people that are Jews that practice that same religion. Now, what happened to our heads? Well, we practicing all kind of stuff as a nation of people, but yet separated in mind, right? Well, we have been considered what they call divide and conquer, to where we not one with our true religion or spirituality in terms of Nuwapu, as Nubian people, you know what I'm saying, as a nation of people who are to be healed from the psychological inflictions of mind altering, distorting knowledge that was designed by perpetrators of slave masters who used that information to confuse us to this very day. To what we living in an era of time where certain divine intervention has taken place on our behalf for us to get back on the right track through being properly re-educated. Like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, the black man and woman have to be completely re-educated. Then Panabab Noon, through divine intervention, came through with the opening of the seventh seal, where all truth will be made known to us, where there isn't any more secrets now. Seek and ye shall find. And once ye find, you will find your mind back on the right track, you know what I'm saying, as the original star seeds connected with the star people, the Anunnaki, the Nadjaru, the overseers, you know what I'm saying, that is alive and well dealing with the cosmos, you know what I'm saying, where our consciousness has been arisen, awakened to a higher form of knowledge, which is information that's on a whole nother level beyond what they was teaching us in the schools, the colleges, the universities. Like how they say, they okay, you got certain people or students going to schools, right? Or universities where they learn nothing about the universe. You know what I'm saying? But here, partner Babylon on the scene, you know what I'm saying? Where our minds are to be cleansed of a certain unclean teachings, you know what I'm saying? Or impure teachings, you know what I'm saying? That don't give us power. But once we embrace ourself, that is our source of power. So why do certain forces of racism want to cut us off from our source of power? Because of the evil, you know what I'm saying, that was present in them to do such a thing. You know what I'm saying? So people have an opportunity to get right. You know what I'm saying? Because this is a grace period we living in for us all to get right. You know what I'm saying? Because the master teacher didn't let us off the hook when he wrote the book, Are There Black Devils? And how to spot them. You know what I'm saying? As many of them amongst us in a manifestation of the flesh, you know what I'm saying, that is of that devil seed. You know what I'm saying? Doing wrong in the earth. You know what I'm saying? So for instance, right? For instance, right? Check out these particular questions and answers. You know what I'm saying? By the master teacher regarding the extraterrestrials. Let me get this. Right here. Okay. Regarding the extraterrestrials, right? Okay. Let me see. Dealing with these grays and reptilians. Okay. Let's start here. Okay. Has there been, listen to this question. Has there been any recorded accounts of grays in other cultures? Answer, yes. Now, why the rabbis, preachers, and imams, you know, in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, right, don't answer these particular questions dealing with these higher levels of information that they seem to never talk about, but yet when it comes to Partner Babylon, Dr. Malachi York, putting forth certain information and asking certain questions and providing certain answers, right? He answers the unanswered and questions the unquestioned. He questioned the unquestioned things. So when he provide us with certain questions and answers about certain realities, right, that appear to be beyond certain preachers, imams, and sheikhs and things in these particular religious community leaders. It's like it's like these terms is beyond their comprehension because the source of this information coming from his intellect is a force to be reckoned with. You know what I'm saying? For instance, has there been any recorded account of graves in other cultures? Yes. Excuse me. There are many accounts in the legends of Babylon, India, Egypt, South America, Central America, and elsewhere that reveal the influence of these species. One variety of the reptilian crossbreed is particularly negative and dangerous. This variety, who worked with the Draco, originated from a system having much more high energy radiation than on the Earth. These use synthetically produced substances mixed with blood. This slurry is something mixed with hydrogen peroxide, which kills the foreign bacteria and viruses. They also feed off the life essence energy of the substances. They also feed off of the nuclear energy and have manipulated humans into developing sources of nuclear power that emit radiation. The Greys, the short big heads, are mercenaries. They interfere with humans on secret. They interfere. Excuse me. They interface with humans in secret societies and within the military establishment complex, right? An interconnected web manipulates the surface of the earth cultures. Now, so the earth cultures are manipulated on the earth's surface to the degree where you can see the manipulation, right? Don't y'all know that psychologically we got to stay equipped with the mental force fields that enable us to have a strong psychic self-defense against the telepathic warfare that's happening in invisible ways, like when the brother William Cooper wrote that book, Behold the Pale Horse, Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, right? The master teacher told us to train ourselves with the overstanding of the information regarding the out formation, converted into information. That's information that's from above, right? That we are to maintain having a psychic self-defense of these realities that's happening on a quiet level, right? Where you can't hear or see certain invisible forces, right? But yet, they are real. You know what I'm saying? Regarding certain tones, low frequency, you know what I'm saying, ELF waves and things of this particular nature, to where, like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was telling us about the radio in the head, where like in a language you can understand, dealing with the powers of the Messiah, who was able to tune in on the thoughts of the people, where he knew how to maneuver and get away from harm's way and be out of harm's way, because he knew the thoughts of the people in the environment. It's how we navigating out here. You know what I'm saying? Through being purified, through right knowledge. So in this era of time, to where they say this is a time of disclosure, or the veil is being lifted and things of this particular nature, we're responsible for working our own salvation out. You know what I'm saying? and making sure the people, you know what I'm saying, that we come in contact with, we have a positive impact on their souls. So in light of having a positive impact on people's souls, yet people still have to do their own individual work, you know what I'm saying, to have respect, you know what I'm saying, for good people without turning on them. You know what I'm saying? So this goes on to read though, right? The command progression is the Draco winged reptilians, right? The Draco non-winged, the Greys, humans, in humans. It should be noted that not all the crossbreeds are sheeped, are steeped, saturated in elitism. They are 70-degree species. There are 70 different species of grays. 8 of them are still coming to this planet. There are 2 major kinds of grays. Marcabians from the Zeta reticulans that are about 4 to 5 feet tall. They are gray in color, smooth skin textures, and have no hair on their bodies. They have a pear-shaped head and big face with eyes that are black with no pupils. Their noses are very small and they have a slit for their mouth. Their eyes are small and they can stretch. Their necks long. They have a thin body, normal length arms, and 5-fingered hands. Their torsos are small and they have no stomach. They absorb through their skin. Their legs are normal for their body and they have sexual organs. Their feet are like a monkey, but their appearance is more human. They are aggressive in nature and some show fear in humans. They can both speak any language and communicate mind to mind, telepathically. That's why we were saying, like, for us to be up in knowledge, to understand the reality, you know what I'm saying, about our telepathic abilities to communicate telepathically, we still have to protect our mind from telepathic influences of these beings who communicate telepathically. You know what I'm saying? So, say for instance, for certain people that have been abducted, they talk about how it appears that their mind was influenced, you know what I'm saying, in a certain way to where their mind was overpowered. Now think about that. Is it possible, you know what I'm saying, for people's minds to be overpowered by certain thoughts that don't belong to them? You know what I'm saying? Protect yourselves in terms of when you have certain thoughts that come out of nowhere. Like, no, I don't even think like that. Where did that thought come from? Even though thoughts may circulate or, you know, go through the mind, that don't mean, of course, you don't act them out, you know what I'm saying, whatever that may be, you know, but we have thought control, you know what I'm saying, to where we express the positive sides of our willpower, you know, by performing righteous acts, you know, that always have a agreeable effect on our environment in a healing fashion, in a healing way. Now, this goes on to read, right? The reticulans, the Marcabians, were allowed to inhabit the seas, the ocean waters all over the planet, right? Dealing with the ocean waters. And a continent of risk because the Anunnaki felt responsible for the collision with the planet of Maldek. So they took responsibility for these beings. The continent was named Darnuriah because they were grateful to stay on risk. The Meldekians, the ones who inhabit the seas of the earth, however, were disagreeable, evil beings, malevolent beings. When the elders from Zeta Reticula, the Draco, came to tell them they owe allegiance to their old planet Meldek. They, the Meldekians, rebelled and have been causing havoc and chaos on Earth ever since. Since most of their planet was destroyed, they felt they should be given Earth. The Anunnaki didn't agree. So they, the Meldekians, have been trying to wipe the planet of Earthlings to take it for themselves. You know what I'm saying? So all of this crazy stuff that's happening with the governments, you know what I'm saying, these religions, that's a part of that's responsible for a lot of the wars that's happening on the planet. A lot of that stuff is manipulated by these beings regarding a lot of these religious ideologies too, for mind control purposes. You know what I'm saying? It gets really deep, these particular dots, when you connect them. You know what I'm saying? You see certain things regarding these beings, right? The Anunnaki didn't agree, so they, the Meldekians, have been trying to wipe the planet of Earthlings to take it for themselves. They are the ones behind the music that is killing you. Those from Bellatrix, also in the Orion system, that are about 3 to 4 feet tall, and another species of Orion gray that ranges in height from 6 to 9 feet tall, right? Dealing with these beings here. Question: how long has Earth's government been in operation with the Greys? They have been in business with the little gray extraterrestrials for about 40 years, since the presidential term of Dwight D. Eisenhower. Excuse me. Dwight D. Eisenhower. Humans were being traded off to the Greys with the promise of giving cures for certain diseases such as polio, malaria, and additional technology. The technology that they were given were toys compared to the level of information that the extraterrestrials were on then, and definitely now on. They also gave them aluminum, plastic, and the hula hoop. Yes, the hula hoop was originally a part of extraterrestrial technology. However, just look many other gadgets. Given by extraterrestrials. No use was found for them, and they became toys. When the Greys came to Earth, some of them crashed on purpose. These Greys crashed and told Eisenhower, "We'll make a deal with you. We'll teach you how to use the mind control if you let us abduct a certain amount of people, right? We'll teach you how to use the mind control if you let us abduct a certain amount of people." The Aldebarans, the Pleiadians, the Ashtar Command are not all your ancestors and descendants. So they went to Nevada and set up Area 51 to do all their experiments with different species and humans to groom them. It's called Area 51 because there are 51 levels. They picked Nevada because it was a place where people go for gambling and casinos. And there they could go and do whatever they wanted without anybody asking any questions. So they went behind the mountains and established the base with tight security. Question, right? Question. Has there been instances where a conference was held by extraterrestrials? Yes. Another crash happened in New Mexico between the year 1947 AD and 1949 AD. Let me explain. A year after the Roswell crash, there was a crash that involved two crafts with two different types of grays. The first group of grays that crashed stood 4 feet tall and came from the Bermuda Triangle and had been living there for over 100,000 years. The other set of grays were from an advanced order and were working with the Ashtar Command humanoid. The advanced grays caused the other grays to fly too low in restricted airspace, and they were shot down. They were then caught in a storm, causing both crafts to crash. The bodies of the 4 dead grays were then pulled from the craft by the 7 grays, who sought medical attention from members of the Ashtar Command. Later, they returned to the crash site to retrieve weapons, documents, the bodies of the grays, and most important, the crystals. The crystals were a communicator with the heavens or skies. It's like what you call it, like some kind of like an antenna that pick up frequencies, or some kind of device that can transmit and receive messages for communication to higher beings out there, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Now, question. What happened when the Greys returned to the site? They saw many army officials and asked to speak to someone in charge. They were led to Hangar 84 and met with former President Harry S. Truman. What was unknown to Harry S. Truman, what was unknown to these Greys was that the establishment and another set of Greys from the higher order made an argument. These Greys were deceived after 3 of them named Shuttle, a female nurse, Wooden, a pilot, and Arima, a female scientist, talk with and were killed by the other 4, who were named Creel, a commanding officer, Alomar, an officer, Alpha, an officer, and Zot, a pilot. After these Greys were betrayed, they returned to their homes. Question. Was there another meeting after the betrayal? Yes. This meeting was in 1953 and stemmed from what had happened years earlier. on Saturday, July 19th, 1952, around 11:40 p.m. UFOs, or unidentified flying objects, or more correctly, IFOs, or identified flying objects, because they know what they are. Because once you say it is an object, you have already identified it. 16 UFOs flew over the White House, something that was never done before because of restricted airspace. A squadron set of fighters planes were launched out after them. Once the planes arrived, the crafts disappeared from radar and eyesight. Once the fighter planes disappeared, the crafts reappeared again. Then the planes appeared again, and the crafts would disappear again. After 9 times of this, the planes returned to the planes returned to the base, and the crafts stayed over the White House for 42 minutes. There was no interference from the squadron of fighters planes because there was nothing they could do about it anyway. That's why there are forces greater than the forces on the planet that governments know about. You know what I'm saying? So it was a question like, they can take over if they really want to. You know what I'm saying? And the reality is this. It was a reading to where they already here, but it's certain rules and regulations in place to where they operating in a way where it just ain't an obvious takeover, but actually it is certain mind control that's going on, where certain diplomatic places dealing with prestigious figures and things of this nature is in compliance with certain agenda dealing with these beings. You know what I'm saying? So it's deeper than what the media convey to us. You know what I'm saying? That's why thinking outside the box, through having a mind of your own, is an act of freedom. You know what I'm saying? To where you do your own research, you know what I'm saying, and do your own due diligence. You know what I'm saying? So you can be free from the mind control spells yet others is under. That's why the master teachers say, I come to set the record straight. To lift the spell off of our people's minds. Dealing with the bigger picture of the reality of these beings. Dealing with the star constellations that our ancestors is connected with in terms of us being supreme beings and great people. You know what I'm saying? Who was beyond being a Negro. You know what I'm saying? Or negative political tag names that don't apply to us, which are misnomers that got our people acting servile in character as a result of being products of the environment from being taught misinformation. You know what I'm saying? So this goes on to read though, right? That's why right knowledge put our minds in proper sequence, that what we think sanely and properly. You know what I'm saying? When we become empowered, taking our power back. You know what I'm saying? To what we make moves, what we intelligent and smart enough to make sound decisions that are right choices and decisions. You know what I'm saying? That is work best in our behalf. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So this goes on to read though, right? we're going to get into this. You know what I'm saying? Because this has to be a channel of this. This is my channel, right? To where that's what I'm doing. I receive downloads, you know what I'm saying, to articulate this particular level of information in a way for it to be in alignment with this alignment time that the master teacher brought us up to speed to, regarding us making a necessary adjustment in these shifts that's taking place in the spirit realm and in the galaxies. You know what I'm saying? On and on these in dealing with them quantum levels. And it's some other realities going on too, but back to this right here regarding is God and extraterrestrial. These God concepts regarding the conflicts between the gods, and you know, who is under the spell of this God? What is the real God? You know what I'm saying? Why have we been given false gods? Why have we been distracted from ourselves as being gods of our most high creator? You know what I'm saying? So this goes back to Reed though. These extraterrestrial crafts, right, also appear a week later on July 26, 1952 AD. This was the Ashtar Command from Pleiades. Hold on. The Ashtar Command from Pleiades. Like a pale white humanoid looking people from the star constellation Pleiades. Right. Positive energy, activate constant elevation, y'all. You know, much love to the all. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Much love to the Most High. Patimta. All right, this goes on to read, right? These extraterrestrial crafts, right? Yeah. All right, these extraterrestrial crafts. Right. These extraterrestrial crafts also appeared. These extraterrestrial crafts also appeared a week later on Saturday, July 26, 1952. This was the Ashtar Command from Pleiades, a 7-star or 7-sun system in Orion, the 16th galaxy, and the beings from Aldebaran, who were asking former President Harry S. Truman to lay down his arms. He refused, and a year later, President Dwight D. Eisenhower was asked to do the same thing at the meeting held in 1953 AD. This meeting was an intergalactical meeting requesting the laying down of arms for the salvation of the planet. Now, remember when during the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, them bombs, what they call Fat Boy and an atomic bomb or something like that. And when they deployed it and it did that major level of destruction over there in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, them beings surfaced with this kind of mentality and mind to intervene with them using that kind of level of weapons of mass destruction to stop it. to interfere with whatever they had going on in their minds toward these beings, like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, right, spoke about how they tune in on these people and they know what they think to the point where they intervene. Like in this case, right? They intervene, you know what I'm saying, to where to encourage these leaders, right? Like regarding this intergalactical meeting, requesting the laying down of arms for the salvation of the planet. Yes, this planet is in need of salvation. The people of this planet is in need of salvation. Where do we get the answers from? You know what I'm saying? We get the answers through New Wobble. You know what I'm saying? This higher level of information that touch on subjects, you know what I'm saying, dealing with all areas of people activity and more. You know what I'm saying? So regarding, like this was speaking on, regarding the salvation of the planet, with the type of weapons being developed, humans will eventually destroy the planet. Many extraterrestrial beings like Val Thor and extraterrestrial from Venus, and the Ashtar Command came representing the beings from Aldebaran, other beings from Pleiades, and others. You can Google or what you can go on YouTube and put this in about the historical event when the UFOs was hovering over the White House right here. You know what I'm saying? A historical and shocking event at Washington, D.C. in 1952 when the UFOs was hovering over the White House, indicating, you know what I'm saying, those intentions, you know what I'm saying, to appeal to the good wise judgment of what's considered our earth leaders, you know what I'm saying, to put the arms down regarding the salvation of the planet. It took all the imagination and intimidation of the government could muster to force the incident out of the memory of the public. I'm going to read that again. It took all the imagination and intimidation of the government. It took all the imagination and intimidation the government could muster to force the incident out of the memory of the public. Why didn't they want the remembrance of, in 1952, the UFOs hovering over the White House? Now, remember in that movie, Men in Black, where certain important like events that people witness, you know what I'm saying, regarding the extraterrestrial activities and things of this nature, you know what I'm saying, certain people want to gaslight you to where you get convinced that you didn't see what you witnessed or experienced. You know what I'm saying? Dealing with these particular extraterrestrial phenomena, right? You know what I'm saying? What is it about, you know what I'm saying, they want to wipe these things from your memory. You know what I'm saying? So, with that kind of propaganda or whatever, this is saying that it is a historical fact that for several weeks in July and August of 1952, UFOs played a cat and mouse game over Washington, D.C. by outmaneuvering fast military planes, which were sent into the sky to chase the crafts from over the White House and the Capitol building. Right? Now, consider this. If you will, the position of the establishment at that time, they proudly thought themselves as the most powerful nation on earth, having recently produced the atomic bomb. They had built jet bombers with intercontinental range and could carry weapons of enormous destruction. The post-war era and the future seemed bright. Now, imagine what it was like for those leaders, all of whom had witnessed the panic of the Orson Welles radio broadcast, The War of the Worlds, in 1938. Thousands of Americans panicked at a realistically presented invasion of Earth by these beings from another planet. Imagine their horror as they actually viewed the dead bodies of these frightening looking little creatures with huge eyes, reptilian skin, and claw-like fingers. Imagine their shock as they attempted to determine how these strange saucers were powered. And they couldn't even discover one part even remotely similar to components they were familiar with. No cylinders or pistons, no vacuum tubes or turbines or hydraulic actuators. It is only when you fully understand the overwhelming helplessness the government was faced with in the late 40s that you can comprehend their perceived need for a total, thorough, and sweeping cover-up to include the use of deadly force. Now, these realities and logical perspectives of why they want to cover up things, it appear to be, to them, justifiable when it comes to public safety. You know what I'm saying? So the cover-up was so successful that as late as 1985 AD, a senior scientist with the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California, Dr. Al Hibbs, would look at a videotape of an enormous flying saucer and state, for the record, I am not going to assign anything to that UFO phenomenon without a lot more data. Dr. Hibbs was looking at the naked emperor and saying he certainly looks naked, but that doesn't prove he's naked. I am by no means defending or condoning the cover-up. However, what I am saying is, are you really ready to see a landing of extraterrestrials and out walks some lizard-looking beings called reptilians who see you as food? I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so either. You know what I'm saying? They see us as food, as a food source, nah. That's real talk. So to protect myself, you know what I'm saying, where we have rights, you know what I'm saying, to be protected, you know what I'm saying, and as earthlings or humans on this planet, you know what I'm saying, um, civilization as we know it, you know what I'm saying, is to go on and to be maintained. But yet, due to this disclosure, it's a lot of changes manifesting where the veil is being lifted, where we starting to see all kind of manifestations of the orbs. You know what I'm saying? Disguised as drones, or they calling them drones, or interdimensional beings. You know what I'm saying? That look like the Etherians, light beings, and things of this particular nature. You know, we living in a time where we got to prepare ourselves for these greater realities to where we know how to maneuver, you know what I'm saying, as spiritual beings, you know what I'm saying, in the greater picture of this spiritual reality and the manifestation of this flesh on this physical plane. But yet, you know what I'm saying, regarding these greater realities though, they are real. You know what I'm saying? So this goes on to read, right? The reptile type extraterrestrials come in all forms. Some are human in shape. However, they are reptile in their heritage, and it shows up in their nature, right? The extraterrestrials, as you call us, right, agree to teach you the science of hovering. I'm going to say that again. The extraterrestrials, as you call us, agree to teach you the science of hovering, the primitive formula of how ships hover, and the formulas for energy, certain types of atomic power, and certain types of germ warfare that you were supposed to use to fight diseases, but instead were used as weapons. So wait a minute. Is it possible, due to like what they were talking about, the silent weapon for quiet wars dealing with biological warfare, you know what I'm saying, certain beings, you know what I'm saying, have, who was given, you know what I'm saying, in certain circles of power, right? Where they got scientific laboratories or what have you, or whatever, have gotten access or utilized certain things that was intended to cure, but they weaponized them, you know what I'm saying, for destructive purposes, which is a diabolical thing to do. You know what I'm saying? So that don't make sense. When the intention of these beings is to intervene, you know what I'm saying, in these earth activities, you know what I'm saying, that certain circles of power is doing to stop what they doing for the salvation of the planet. You know what I'm saying? With the offering of giving cures to diseases and things of this particular nature. You know what I'm saying? Now this goes on to read, right? I'm going to read that again. The extraterrestrials, as you call us, agree to teach you the science of hovering, the primitive formula of how ships hover, and the formulas for energy, certain types of atomic power, and certain types of germ warfare that you were supposed to use to fight diseases, but instead were used as weapons. And this is things that these beings know that they did, right? So this is making us aware of what they did, right? So the elders who had visited decided to leave the earth and let it destroy itself. Now wait a minute. So I don't want to be on a path of destruction. And as far as my own personal lifestyle, I don't live a lifestyle of self-destruction. I live a lifestyle of positive construction like you supposed to be doing. But due to a lot of our people being negatively influenced in mind to where the devil said, I'm going to make what's wrong look right and what's right look wrong, to where the wrong that a lot of people caught up doing is to be cool. That's what's cool to do. That's what's trendful. You know what I'm saying? When there is actually another psychological orientation and thought trend, you know what I'm saying, to save your life. You know what I'm saying? From getting caught up on that path of destruction. Now watch this, right? To be free from the destruction. Look at what's going on the planet. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Farrakhan spoke about the fall of America. Or for students of them wise teachings to be in tune with this area of time we living in, and we see the unraveling of society and the moral fiber of the people. Acting like they ain't got no sense, where it's like we living in an insane asylum. You know what I'm saying? No, we got to separate ourselves from the unclean things of the world and listen to the same spiritual voices that have moral compasses to help us be free from that path of destruction that these beings was talking about. They say, okay, so since y'all doing that, we gonna leave and let y'all, and just let the earth, wait a minute, the earth destroy itself? Like they say, they gonna leave the earth and let it destroy itself. So wait a minute. The consciousness of the rulers on the planet has to be re-educated to where they take into consideration higher, better conduct than what they doing. You know what I'm saying? So for a lot of us, you know what I'm saying, who has this like level of knowledge to where we correct in our behavior, you know what I'm saying? It's like other people, it's like we're waiting on them, or we doing what we supposed to be doing to better our conduct on the planet that's not contributing to the destruction of the planet, right? But these beings, these extraterrestrials and these other beings, they like, we leaving the planet and let it destroy itself. Upon returning back to the Starfleet, a council was set up and they created a project called Urenda and decided to incarnate again in the year 1960 AD they established a base on Mount Shasta, right? Mount Shasta. In the September 1995 issue of Examiner, page 3, in the article entitled Magic Mountain, right? Thousands swear by healing powers of mystic Khalif Pete. And it states California's Mount Shasta has become a mecca for New Age pilgrims who came to bask into the volcano's magic. Mount Shasta emits a very powerful electromagnetic healing field. Scientists expect to erupt soon. It's the center of an energy vortex, also capable of spiritual healing. The volcano, which last erupted in 1786, has been the subject of legends for eons. The local Klamath and Modic Indian tribes long described battles between competing spirits. Others say a people called Lemurians live in a vast underground tunnel system within the mountain. Many who make the pilgrimage decide to stay. Ellen Stamps, 55, a self-described spiritual healer, has moved to the base of the 14,161 foot mountain, 260 miles north of San Francisco. She and others also claim to have seen alien creatures on the slopes. I can't say if it was a UFO alien or a mountain spirit. All I know is it wasn't a human. This being was over 7 feet tall and had long golden hair and deep blue eyes. Mount Shasta was a mountain located off the shores of California that leads to one of the caverns in the inner earth. The mountain was named after a California tribe of Native Americans called the Shastas. There are beings that direct the crafts into the planet Earth, and they go to the center of the Earth. There is a 15-mile long computer in the center of the Earth that was reactivated in 1994 AD. Right? This is why there is a hum sound in the earth. This is also why people in California hear a loud buzzing noise. The computer sends out signals to crafts, incoming crafts, so that they may come into the earth without being detected. The crafts who don't pay attention to the signals usually get shot right out of the sky by the humans. Right? Now, the continuation of the revelations of this information is endless once we start getting into it and paying attention, you know what I'm saying, to these particular logical reasoning paths of direction. These particular logical paths of direction connect us to the real realities of what's going on. It's a saying, right? Where in his book, Hip Hop Decoded, right? From its ancient origin to its modern day matrix by Brother Black Dot. In it, it was a statement, a passage in there that talked about certain forces of power or people of power, right? Where they can present some information to you, or where you as a perceiver of that information and you affect it and you receive it in a way like, I don't believe in that. Good. You don't believe in it. Yeah, good. That's beautiful. Good. Because by you not believing, like say for instance, like certain wild, crazy, murderous, wicked, diabolical, destructive stuff being perpetrated by certain forces, right? You know what I'm saying? Perpetrators of crimes of the century and these things of that particular nature. Like, no, they wouldn't do nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? And you wouldn't believe that they wouldn't do anything like that, these certain forces, right? But guess what? They did. So they say, since you don't believe this particular thing that's so far-fetched, you know what I'm saying? So say for instance, they say, well, since you don't believe what we doing, that make it easier for us to achieve what we doing. That because you don't believe in certain stuff don't mean that it ain't going on. That because you don't believe in certain stuff don't mean that it ain't happening. That because you don't believe in certain stuff with your small-minded self don't believe that it's not a reality. that these other things is a reality. You know what I'm saying? That's why it was just saying what fools these mortals be. You know what I'm saying? To when the master teacher was like, only fools duck when the truth is thrown at them. But wise men like me, I catch it and run with it. You know what I'm saying? Because there's salvation in it to save us from the destruction. You know what I'm saying? Like Noble Drew Ali said, you know what I'm saying? If you can think, you can save yourself. And that's what we doing today. We using our brains, we using our minds, being in alignment with this alignment time. This is an alignment time for us to get connected with our true spiritual science. You know what I'm saying? And these greater realities. You know what I'm saying? Because it's necessary. We are part of growth and development. Well, we are to make progress with ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So this goes on to read though, right? Question. Were there other attempts made to further communicate with the United States in the 60s? Answer. Yes. In the 60s, after seeing the turmoil on Earth was in, they decided to reincarnate and make contact with the Pentagon in the hopes of making another agreement with them. They first contacted a woman in Maine who would go into a trance and answered as a being from the United Association of Planets. Colonel Robert Friend was contacted by this woman and spoke to the being, who told them they would speak telepathically through a certain officer and another question and answer questions. The being gave them information about his universe and stars and atomic energy to verify that they would agree that they would have to stop the war because it was getting ready to really escalate because of Vietnam. Right? There was no reason to disregard what was relayed by this officer because he was a high-ranking official. The officer appeared to go into a deep trance, and his Adam's apple moved up and down rapidly. One of the questions asked was, do you favor a certain government, organization, religion, or race? And would there be a third war? The answer to both of these questions was no. They also asked to see a UFO. They were told to look out the window and they would see a ship. They looked out the window and they saw a ship. They also called for radar confirmation. When they checked the radar, that section of the scope was blocked. The names Creel, Alomar, and Alpha were printed on a piece of paper. Dwight D. Eisenhower was the only contact, and when he died, contact was cut off. The next people that came in power were warmongers. They were the Sea of Zuen, the Meldekians, who want the planet Earth for themselves and have a hatred for those humans who are descendants of the elders, the Anunnaki, right? They did not want to communicate with the elders. So it is for this reason that the establishment will not tell you about extraterrestrials coming to the planet. And it is just recently that they started releasing information like life existing on Mars and other planets in the universe, right? So with these particular realities, right, going on amongst us, and yet we not know about it. Think about the conversations people be having. You know what I'm saying? Life is going by. The clock is constantly ticking. You know what I'm saying? Are we getting better with time? Or are our people getting worse with time? Because as we can see, you know what I'm saying, certain people are deteriorating while a lot of other of us are regenerating. You know what I'm saying? Well, we are being in tune with the science of healing. The science of healing. You know what I'm saying? That's what we are magnetized to, the science of healing. Complete constructive change. You know what I'm saying? That kind of revolution is what we stand for. Complete constructive change of the mind. You know what I'm saying? That's free from the racisms, dealing with the higher levels of consciousness, you know what I'm saying, as mature God sees. You know what I'm saying? Mature God sees. That's carrying into practice divine laws of the cosmos and the universe, of Patem Ta, the all. God in a language you can understand. You know what I'm saying? So, as far as changing for the better, you know what I'm saying? That's what we are about. Progressing as a group of people. You know what I'm saying? Earthly progressions. You know what I'm saying? That well, we are not being stagnated, you know what I'm saying, by the negativity of the evil ones, you know, the cursed people, the cursed genes, the cursed genetic negative dispositions people have to that have tendencies to do evil, where their hearts in them is to do evil continuously. Black devils, white devils, devils of whatever nationality that's of that wicked seed, you know what I'm saying, to perpetuate the evil empire that's crumbling. You know, because like the scripture was talking about, these particular forces have a certain amount of time to do that counterproductive spiritual technology. You know what I'm saying? So here we are, you know, operating out of a superior wisdom that nullify the works of these particular entities, you know, that work in service of them low vibrations, you know what I'm saying, that are to be conquered. Because remember the saying, the Most High give us power to trample over scorpions and snakes. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We are indeed exercising that power through these positive channels of communication in our personal life, what we stand for, what's right. You know what I'm saying? Because these other forces, just continue to read, right? Let's keep going. Okay, the master teacher asked this question, that if you notice, compared to the questions and answers these other preachers, sheikhs, imams, or leaders be talking about in their conversations, they don't go into depth with this kind of particular supreme wisdom that he talking through. Listen to this, right? Question. Does NASA know about the Homo erectus project? Question. Answer, yes. That's exactly what I am saying. I'm gonna read that again. Does NASA know about the Homo erectus project? Yes, that's exactly what I am saying. NASA National Aeronautic Space Administration discovered the face on Mars, right? Artifact in 1976 when NASA sent two sophisticated aircrafts, Viking 1 and Viking 2, on the mission to Mars. On July 1976, the Viking orbiter took a photograph of what became known as the face on Mars. It was a huge five-shaped pyramid with smaller pyramids lying nearby it, right? In the holy tablets, it's a bigger picture of it where you can see what they're talking about here. Later on, there were claims made by the science writers, that Mars had ruins of an entire Martian city full of pyramids, which are geometrically aligned with the face of the larger five-sided pyramid. The face has deep set eyes, crossed lines in the head, and from the mouth structure there is a suggestion of teeth. Like I mentioned previously, the Anunnaki set up what you know as the first Egyptian civilization on Mars, which is what was later set up here on the planet Earth. Yes, put this in your mind. The Egyptian civilization existed long before it was set up on the planet Earth. So with that said, right, I'm going to discontinue and I'm going to conclude with this. Right? The planet Earth is a school through the African or Kemetic, Egyptian, Nubian, Moor. Is it? Okay, let me see. Humanity come from the roots of the African polygenetic tree, meaning that we is like the source of civilization. So where did the human disruption, so in light of the human disruptions on the planet that have crept into the harmony, the human harmony on the planet. You know what I'm saying? There's just work to be done for the divine order to the divine order to dominate. You know what I'm saying? Where we can evolve spiritually how we supposed to, you know what I'm saying, through, you know what I'm saying, these spiritual teachings of light, you know what I'm saying, regarding the original black light. You know what I'm saying? That's a manifestation of, like when the master teacher was talking about the number nine, nine to the ninth power of nine, represent the combination of all existing gases and chemicals that make up the physical and spiritual existence from the mind of the all that we are a part of as gods. You know what I'm saying? Who are living this human existence. So it's more to us than we may know. Yet other people's consciousness may not be on this type of level, but this is the level to be on regarding the realities of our true spiritual science in connection to the rest of the cosmos. So peace and love, positive energy activation to my people. Stay sucker free, and just because other people character, you know what I'm saying, show for them to be um disagreeable and questionable, don't mean we are to stoop to their level. You know what I'm saying? You know, and make matters worse. You know what I'm saying? By where we can just stay in our proper character, you know what I'm saying, and stay well rounded, you know what I'm saying, to where we get rid of the evil in all its forms in our environment that might try to creep up into our environment. You know what I'm saying? And stay a reflection and be the royal bloodline connected to the God seed that is the reflections of our true essence. You know what I'm saying? Thinking highly of ourselves, baby. Peace and love, y'all.